who will be the next president. If you take a look at a batch of new polls, it's anyone's guess. 3 news organizations now have Donald Trump in the lead. Hillary Clinton is up in 2. All are within the margin of error and our national polls. So what's the strategy to break this logjam? Now, if you take a look at a couple of new ads, it seems like both campaigns are doubling down on trying to make you like the other candidate even less, if that's possible.
I was very nervous.
No woman should be subjected to it. It was an assault.
In this ad, Trump is trying to chip away at Clinton's lead among female voters by reliving some of President Clinton's unsavory history with women. It includes audio from a woman who said Clinton raped her almost 40 years ago in Arkansas. Clinton campaign is launching its own negative ad aimed at Trump's character. It uses his own voice to paint a portrait of a heartless businessman willing to exploit anyone at any cost.
I sort of hope that happens, because then people like me would go in and buy. If there is a bubble burst, as they call it, you can make a lot of money.
Joining me now, Jessie Mermel. She's a Democrat, former communications director for Governor Patrick, is backing Hillary Clinton. Good to see you,
Hi,
Jessie. Republican State Rep Keiko Orrell, who had originally endorsed Marco Rubio, but now stands behind Donald Trump. Representative, it's good to see you, too. Let's start with this ad that's generating the most controversy. The whole thing, Bill Clinton smoking a cigar, 2 women who said they were sexually assaulted, and then it ends with a tagline, will Hillary really protect women? I know you don't agree with it, but is it not fair game?
You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Thank
if
you,
you even
Einstein.
I get called Einstein a lot. If you even talk to Republican pollsters, they will tell you they have tested this message time and time again against the Clintons, Hillary, Bill, or together throughout the years. And not only doesn't it work, it backfires. So I have no idea what Trump is thinking on this. I can't imagine how Republican women or independent women, folks in the middle, will be appealed to by reminding folks of how deeply wronged Hillary Clinton was by her husband.
Are they the same pundits who said he couldn't win the primary? Were they the same ones?
Well, those are
right?
Republican pollsters, not pundits.
You know, but one thing here, I mentioned the gender gap for a minute. There's a story in the New York Times, which I'm sure you read, about Lena Dunham after campaigning for Hillary Clinton, actually before campaigning for Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire, was at a dinner on the Upper East Side and said, I never knew about all this, and I never knew about the Hillary Clinton enabling. Forget Bill Clinton, he's not running, the enabling. And people like Carl Bernstein, George Stephanopoulos, her confidant, Diane Blair, have confirmed her behavior in these things. That's relevant, even if you think it's history that's not going to work, yes?
You know, I think it's fair to talk about things that Hillary has done, but I don't think that it's going to do what Donald Trump wants this to do. I mean, women deeply, deeply sympathized with Hillary Clinton in the 1990s. Her poll numbers then were some of the highest numbers she's had in her public career.
Yeah, but those young women supporting Bernie Sanders weren't even alive when that was happening.
Right, but those aren't young people, young voters who are going to look at Donald Trump as a messenger to tell them what to think about Hillary Clinton.
Are you offended by this? There is a tagline that connects it to Hillary, but essentially 14 of the 15 seconds are all about Bill Clinton, who is not running.
It's fair game. I think it's because she has brought him as, just last week she was talking about the role that he'll play in her administration, and so I think it's all fair game to remind people of the scandals associated with the Clintons. I think that it is something that's important to be brought out, and I think that he's trying to make the case that this is not the direction that the country needs to go.
But Jessie's right, though. There is potential for it to backfire. Even if you like this strategy, there is potential for people to be turned off by this, no?
Oh, I think it's just a reminder that this is the history of the Clintons, and this is a failed history of supporting women, and I think that that's where the Trump campaign is going to go.
And over history, it's a failed strategy of stopping the Clintons. It doesn't work.
But everything Donald Trump has done is something that's never been done by any successful candidate before. And one of the things we talked about on the radio today is even if this is not about the sexual misconduct of the former president and possibly the enabling behavior of his wife, it is about yesterday. And voters often, even if they love the economy during Bill Clinton, they don't want to return to yesterday if they're headaches. They want to go into the future, even if the future holds a rather odd candidate like the one you're supporting. That is generally true in politics, right?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And I think that what you're seeing here is something that Donald Trump does a lot when he's being attacked by something. I assume you saw the ad today about Hillary Clinton attacking Donald Trump for comments he made in 2007, 2008, leading into the Great Recession. When he's being attacked on something substantive.
Actually,
oh, great. Well, he will pivot to something scandalous or something that he thinks is scandalous as a way to change the conversation. And in this case, he's talking about something that's ancient history.
I think it's a brilliant strategy to say, let's look back at what has happened with the Clintons, because I think people are wanting to move forward, and I think that Donald Trump is saying, we want to move in a different direction. I think that both on the Republican and the Democrat side, we have people who are saying the establishment, the status quo is not what we want in Washington, D.C., and Donald Trump offers that alternative. So I think that by looking back at these things that have happened in the past, he's reminding people, do you want to go back? Do you want to go backwards? We want to go forwards. And I think it's not with Hillary Clinton.
Well, let's settle in the middle. Forget the future and let's forget the past. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the current. I'm going to play for you something that he said first that is totally untrue. And then the second thing that I would argue is dangerous speculation. Here's Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton wants to abolish the Second Amendment. Just remember that.
And, she won't use the term radical Islamic terrorism. What just happened about 12 hours ago? A plane got blown out of the sky. And if anybody thinks it wasn't blown out of the sky, you're 100% wrong, folks, okay?
First, I did a lot of research on this. Hillary Clinton has never said anything close to I want to repeal the Second Amendment. That's number one. So, and number two, would you not agree, even if he turns out to be right, if the experts don't know if that plane was down and 66 people killed because of terrorism, maybe either candidate should hold their powder, as they say, and not reach the unsubstantiated conclusion?
He's a big personality. He has he uses a lot of rhetoric that is people find troubling. But I think that what is most troubling is the fact that we have a candidate on the Democrat ticket who is not a supporter of the Second Amendment and who is not paying attention to public safety.
What's the evidence she doesn't support the Second Amendment? She supports gun control, but she doesn't.
Right. So to me, when you're saying that you support more measures for gun control, that to me says you're taking away rights from folks who are law-abiding
Representative, you're a
citizens.
fiscal conservative.
I
You're
am.
not. Okay, I'm going to run against you for state rep, and I'm going to say in the campaign, Keiko Oral wants to raise your taxes. I know that to be true. Now, that I speak boldly, just like Donald. What would
Yes.
your reaction to me be as your opponent if I was just making something up out of whole cloth?
So this is a campaign, and so I would rely on my own record, and I would rely on my campaign, and I think that that's and focusing on what I bring to the table, and I think that that's what Donald Trump is saying. He's bringing to the table that he's going to protect Second Amendment rights.
Okay.
And Hillary Clinton is relying on her record of not supporting repealing the Second Amendment.
It would seem to me that I tend not to. I think that this whole Bill Clinton's sexual behavior has more potential to hurt your candidate than you do. But let's move on from that. The other thing I think that has potential to hurt your candidate, I am stunned by not only Bernie Sanders not drawing down the criticism of her. In 1 week, we've had the following. She's the lesser of two evils. He said he wants a recount in Kentucky, and he's ginning up the people on the West Coast. I mean, on and on. There are a whole bunch of things this week. This is not the behavior of somebody who's reaching a point where he's going to embrace the other candidate. This is a guy who's, and he's a supporting candidate running against the chair of the Democratic National Committee, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Does this not make you nervous?
It makes me nervous that Hillary Clinton is basically running two campaigns at the same time when she needs to be focused on Donald Trump. But I am anxious to see what happens on June 8th, a week from tomorrow, right after the California and New Jersey primaries. I am cautiously optimistic that we're going to see a change in tone. Based on history, based on what we saw in 2008 with Hillary Clinton, when the tone right now at this stage in the Democratic primary was just as brutal as it is right now here in 2016. And she gave a speech on the eve of the California primary that sounded like she was staying in and in it for the long haul. And then the next morning she came out and said, you know what, I'm dropping out. I'm suspending my campaign, and endorsed Barack Obama and campaigned hard for him.
I only have 15 seconds. Let me quote to you my radio producer who said about a week ago, the difference between that and now is Hillary Clinton was asking her supporters to embrace the movement. Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders is the movement. And that's not to take anything away, but that is where. So isn't it a little harder in this case?
No, because we also have an important movement of stopping Donald Trump from harming this country horribly. And I think Bernie Sanders will buy into that, and his supporters will in a big way.
Lesser of two evils. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Jim.
Representative, great to see you too. Be well.